Hello, and welcome to Pub and Fig. In this video, I'm going to go over everything you need to know before you watch The Marvels. I will only use these projects as reference, so there will be no spoilers from the trailers nor the marketing. And in case you're wondering, the three most important of these to keep in mind of are Captain Marvel, WandaVision, and Miss Marvel. I will go through this video one protagonist at a time since The Marvels has three, those being Carol Danvers, Monica Rambeau, and Kamala Khan. So I would rather do them independently than have one long, muddied up story. So without further ado, let's review. In the Captain Marvel movie, we met Carol Danvers, a human pilot who flew in the 80s until she was testing an experimental aircraft and was shot down by the alien Yon-Rogg in service of the Kree. Her mentor, as she knew as Dr. Lawson, was actually a Kree herself by the name of Mar-Vell, and her lightspeed engine used the power of the Space Stone, one of 6 powerful Infinity Stones. Mar-Vell is killed before she could destroy the engine, so Carol finishes the job and all of that energy gives her superpowers. It also made her very tired and susceptible, so Yon-Rogg took her under Kree custody to be brainwashed into serving the Kree for 6 years. During this time, she's also given the name Veers, so if anyone refers to her by that, here's your reminder. The Kree are a space empire based out of the planet Hala and led by the Supreme Intelligence. I don't have any visuals of the Supreme Intelligence because we have only seen stand-ins for it, not the actual thing. One of the Kree's missions are eradicating the Skrulls, an alien race of green shapeshifters. On a Skrull-related mission, Carol is captured by the Skrull General Talos, and he tries to find Mar-Vell's secret lab through her memories. This was because Mar-Vell was actually trying to help the Skrulls. Carol breaks out, falls down to the earth below, and goes on a journey of rediscovery with Nick Fury. She catches up with her friend from the Air Force, Maria Rambeau, and Maria's daughter, Monica. After that little reunion, Carol, Maria, Fury, Talos, and Goose go to space in a 1995 Quinjet. By the way, Goose is a Flurkin, which looks like a regular cat, but actually does this thing. They find Mar-Vell's lab, the Skrulls on board, and the Space Zone, and we have a little battle between them and the Kree. Long story short, Carol discovers the rest of the power she has, saves the day, and then remains in space to help the Skrulls and who knows what else for the next 23 years. She has a list of powers, which include laser beam hands, flight, super strength, space breathability, which I hate with a passion, and I guess high invulnerability since she could just fly through ships with ease. In 2018, the Mad Titan Thanos gathers all 6 Infinity Stones and snaps half of all life from the universe. As Fury turns to dust, he sends a distress signal out to Carol. She comes to Earth to find the Avengers, and after she saves Iron Man, they go to undo what Thanos did. However, when they do find him, he had already destroyed the stones, and Thor kills him out of revenge. 5 years later, the Avengers discover time travel, and when they bring everybody back, as well as the Thanos and his army from 2014, Carol shows up to break down the giant ship and provide support until she couldn't. Home run! But Iron Man sacrifices his life to destroy Thanos once and for all. These are the main times we have seen Carol Danvers up until now, but she has been seen keeping tabs with the heroes of Earth, as we have seen in a random hologram Zoom call, Iron Man's funeral, and a discussion trying to figure out what the 10 rings are that Shang-Chi is now in possession of in case they were space technology. When it comes to loose ends with the character, these are the ones I have. For one, we don't really have a solid answer for where the superhero name came from, but it seems like it probably came from Fury. Second, we do not know what she's been doing for those 23 years she was out in space, what she did in that 5-year gap in between Avengers movies, and what she has been doing since Endgame up until now. We know she was helping the Skrulls, but she could have been doing a whole bunch of stuff out in space during all of this time, especially since Fury had to deal with the Skrulls as they kept coming to Earth. Since she is so heavily tied with the Skrulls, I'll just go ahead and summarize Secret Invasion real quick. Talos and Fury work together to fight a group of Skrulls that want to make Earth their new home through infiltration and nuclear genocide since they could actually survive radiation. Long story short, almost if not all of the Skrulls are on Earth in secret, that faction advocating for human extinction loses, and hit squads have been inspired to kill Skrulls on sight. Talos and his wife are also dead, and his daughter Gaia has a bunch of superpowers because of Super Skrull genetic experimentation. Will any of this be addressed? I would hope it's acknowledged at the very least, since she and Fury promised to find the Skrulls a new home, so in the event they make reference to these events, now you know what they're talking about. Moving on to Monica Rambeau, we were first introduced to her in the Captain Marvel movie as a kid. We know the Rambeaus were close to Carol, since Monica calls her Auntie Carol, and Maria became Captain Marvel in another universe, further cementing how close the two were in the Air Force. Monica was really happy to see Carol again, and they were on such good terms that she even got to redesign Carol's color palette. After the events of that movie, Maria creates an organization called SWORD, or Sentient Weapon Observation and Response Division, and, for some odd reason I suppose, went under the alias or nickname of Photon. During the time of the blip, Monica was turned to dust and found out Maria died of cancer while she was gone. When she tries to go back to SWORD and take on any mission that was open in space, the acting director kept her grounded and assigned her to a missing persons case in Westview. She gets sucked into the anomaly, later dubbed the Hex, where she becomes the character Geraldine in Wanda's sitcom reality. But she gets kicked out of the Hex after she broke character and reminded Wanda of a traumatic memory. Feeling like she's the only one who understands Wanda, she tries to go through the Hex again, but when it is a lot more dangerous and offensive. She manages to walk through it and is pulled apart and together through reality until she gets to the other side. Her DNA had already been altered when she went through and came back the first time, so this trip changed her so much that she gained superpowers. It is not fully clear what these powers are, but they seem to be specialized vision, whatever this power is supposed to be could be more defensive, and I think some sort of intangibility. With the sight-related powers, we see that she can see radio or electromagnetic waves and also the presence of magic. So perhaps she has a few other powers, or especially on the sight regard, she can see a lot more other things that we will explore. Back to WandaVision, Monica uses her powers to deal with SWORD since they have been an antagonistic force under that acting director. Wanda collapses the Hex, and Monica gives her reassurance before she leaves and prepares herself for her role in Multiverse of Madness. Little did Monica know that Wanda would kill a variant of Maria in another universe. As Monica is dealing with cleaning up the mess in Westview, she receives an invite to join Fury in space. Spider-Man Far From Home and Secret Invasion have been hyping up this base that Fury has been working on called Saber. Looking to comics as reference real quick, SWORD actually has a very different role and purpose than its MCU counterpart, and it seems like Saber is more to fulfill the comic role of what SWORD was supposed to be, that being kind of a space station that's designed to monitor other worlds and alien activity from the comfort of Earth's orbit. Looking back to Skrulls real quick, Monica does have a connection to them, even guys specifically, which is why she is not fazed when a Skrull is recruiting her on Fury's behalf. When it comes to looking at events after Secret Invasion, we do not know if Skrulls are still working with Saber, despite them being messengers and contributing most of the effort in the base's construction. The loose ends I have for Monica are far more straightforward in case you didn't necessarily like the ones I had for Carol, but these ones I 100% believe will be answered. Of course, we do not know what role she will have with Saber, nor how much time and experience she'll have by the time we catch up with her. And as I hinted before, it is not fully clear what her powers are, nor if we have even seen all of them yet. Thirdly, she does not have a confirmed superhero name yet. And part of this is confusing because she has had a lot of names in the comics as well, her two most popular being Spectrum and Photon. Even though Maria has the Photon name, I do not know if this means Monica will just take on the Spectrum title, or if she'll kind of inherit the Photon name to keep that legacy going. Lastly, and this one's the juiciest, is that there was clearly something that went down between Monica and Carol. When just the topic of Captain Marvel comes up, Monica tries to avoid it altogether, hinting that there was some bad blood between the two. If it is grounded in something we have already seen, my guess is Art has something to deal with a falling out between Carol and Maria, perhaps around the time of her first cancer diagnosis, or Monica may have felt left behind despite Carol giving her hope of exploring space. Whatever went down, we should be getting an explanation. Finally, we have Kamala Khan, and just to give you a very tight summary of her character, she's a high schooler in Jersey City who is a huge superhero fan, with her favorite being Captain Marvel. When random trinkets come in from her grandmother in Pakistan, one of those items is a bangle that gives Kamala hard light powers. For those unrelated with the term, she can create things with her mind out of light or energy, but this light has physical properties. Green Lantern would be a very popular example of someone who has hard light powers, if that's a better reference for you. The reason Kamala gets powers from the bangle is because her great-grandmother is from a place called the Newer Dimension, which may operate similar to Ta Lo from Shang-Chi, if that would also be considered a dimension. The bangle does have a connection to the Ten Rings, since the bangle Kamala has was originally found on a severed arm in an abandoned Ten Rings site, and there has been speculation that the two items could be related in some way. Back to the series, Kamala has no related powers because of her great-grandmother, but only she can access these powers because she also happens to have a mutation.
Kamala, there's something different in your genes, like a mutation.
That 90s X-Men audio theme, yeah, that's actually in the show. I didn't edit anything with that. To summarize the series, here's my brief breakdown of each individual episode. Episode 1 establishes Kamala, her family, her friends, the bangle, and her powers. Episode 2 is a cliche crush storyline with sprinkles of being hunted by damage control. Episode 3 has her brother's wedding interrupted by the series antagonist. Episode 4 takes Kamala to Pakistan to learn more about the Noor and the Bengal from a group called the Red Daggers. Episode 5 has weird time travel hijinks where Kamala meets her great-grandmother after the Bengal just places her into 1947. And Episode 6 has Kamala face damage control head-on in her superhero suit when she tries to protect someone else who also has hard light powers, although no Bengal or device needed. As far as anything else of note goes, we know that Ms. Marvel likely takes place in 2025, considering damage control has utilized former Stark drones, and we see the bronze Statue of Liberty in the credits. Her friend Bruno moved to California for a program at Caltech, and I'm mentioning him since he's the one who helped Kamala understand her powers and genetics from a scientific standpoint. Looking at the loose ends from the show, we have another superhero name thing. Throughout the series, she was dubbed Nightlight and a few other names because of her powers, and of course Kamala hates that title.
You okay?
Yes, Miss Nightlight.
No, not that name.
The closest we get to the Miss Marvel name is in a talk between her and her father, but how or when anyone will adopt that name has yet to be seen. Now this one is less of a loose end and just more of a partial hope, and that being that they actually strip her of her hard light powers. Is it interesting? Sure, but she has stretchy powers in the comics, and you can see them make nods to it throughout the series. So I think it would be better if they would just decide to commit to what she's had throughout the entire source material. How I think they would do this, if they were to do this, would just be to take away the Bengal and have her mutation take over fully. When we see the Bengal being found, there is talk about how there's supposed to be a second one out somewhere, but they don't find it and we never see it. So that might be something to look out for. And as I mentioned before, they do have a ties to the 10 rings. The organization, obviously, but the rings themselves is an intriguing comparison. For the final loose end, we do know that the Bengal has some cosmic relevancy, not only for the connection to the Noor dimension and the weird little time travel bit, but also because we see Kamala switch places with Carol for who knows whatever reason, and that will be explored in the Marvels. Before we even go to the outro, do not be surprised if any multiverse stuff happens to show up in this movie. We are in the middle of the multiverse saga, but from what I have been hearing Marvel say, Loki Season 2 will have a substantial impact on the MCU, particularly in the next 2 releases. But what those impacts are, I can't say because the final episode of Loki Season 2 and the Marvels happen to come out on the same day. However, now it is outro time. If you want to see my immediate reaction to the movie, please subscribe so you can stay up to date on that and other videos that I come out with. And if you enjoyed this video, please consider giving it a like. If you're watching this video shortly before actually watching the movie, please come back and comment down below how accurate or off you thought I was in retrospect. This is a new trend I'm wanting to start with these types of videos. As always, this is Pub and Fig, sayonara.